It's an honor and a privilege to be here. And I want to thank White People Challenging Racism. White People Challenging Racism, Moving from Talk to Action, because that is the organization that first got me involved with CCI, and particularly Paul Marcus and Debbie Irving. So if it weren't for White People Challenging Racism, I wouldn't be here on this board. So I want to thank White People Challenging Racism for getting me involved, making me come out of my shell and becoming an activist. At our last board meeting, Shay mentioned it was and excuse the way I sound, I have a cold right now, I'm very sick, so I'm not shaking hands and hugging people tonight. But anyway, after our board meeting, I actually had to leave early. So I left the board meeting and I called Jimmy because I walked right into the demonstration in front of the State House. And to take Dee Dee's words, it was a movement and not a moment. It was very powerful to be caught up in it. I was so caught up in it, as I was leaving the board meeting early to go to another engagement, I called Jimmy in the board meeting, excited to say, you guys got to come out here. It's like there's all these cops, there's all these protesters out here, and it felt so empowering. Just as empowering as it is to walk into this room and see so many social and racial justice activists here in one spot. So give yourselves an applaud, because we're all doing this work, and I think everybody deserves an applaud. I'm here to honor and present an award to Stuart Lanier. And Stuart, actually, I'm going to tell you a little bit about him, but he's a colleague and a cohort. But it just so happened, doing a little research and talking to Stuart and getting to know him, found out that he works at an organization that my mother actually worked at and retired from. And while she was working there, she was there for about over 30 years anyway. She was the only person of color there. She was the only black woman there. And when she left, I think there was one other black woman who's still there now. And so it's funny how life comes full cycle, that I run into Stuart and work with him. And he actually was currently working with people that know my mother, who has Alzheimer's, and I'm a caregiver for her now. But anyway, without further ado, I want to tell you a little bit about Stuart. Stuart Lanier is a native of Arkansas and raised in Georgia and Florida. His family farm in South Georgia included 10 sharecropper families until the 1950s, with one family still living and working on the farm during his youth in the 60s. Deeply shaped by his heritage, he is committed to lifelong learning about privilege and supporting race equity through his work as a consultant with nonprofit organizations at Third Sector New England, and serving as a facilitator for the White People Challenging Racism course offered by Community Change, Inc. An ordained clergy person in the United Methodist Church, he began his professional career as a pastor. Arising from his awareness of the need to deeply ground justice work in spiritual practice, he recently received a certificate in spiritual direction with a concentration in small group circle process. His life partner is Stacy, and his amazing 3 grown daughters are Emily, Georgia, and Helen. Stuart also has a cranky old cat, Pearl Gray, who will only sit on his lap, and a young cat, Kevin, who is pot Lamore and jumps on top of everything, including open doors. He likes to cycle, and he rides in the Bikes Not Bombs bike-a-thon each year. Sometimes cycle commute 9 miles into work, and he makes a multi-day bike trips whenever time allows. Without further ado, Stuart, why don't you come up here?